because the first year, you're still getting all of that alcohol out of you and you're still learning new habits. And then year 2, you realize, oh, I need to like restructure every ounce of my existence to figure out what works for me to stay sober.
Now today, I'm really excited because I get an opportunity to talk to Jennifer Kessle-White, a top 1% realtor, co-founder of LKW Home Team, who transformed her life by changing everything. She got sober 2 years ago. This isn't just a personal story of triumph, but it's a blueprint for anyone who's ready to define success from inside out. That's very different from any podcast that we've done so far. But I want to thank you for coming like all this way from Columbus, Ohio to do this. I mean, you like are probably one of the furthest traveled guests. So thank you for doing this today.
I love it. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so you're 2 years.
We get a little bonus vacation at the end of it.
Right?
So there we go.
Where are you guys going, Sedona?
Yeah, we are.
Afterwards? So you're the second podcast we're doing in this brand new studio.
So
we're
pretty.
really excited. Thank you for, like everything about it. Like you and I have been kind of talking and I just feel your energy. Usually when we do this, you just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I was telling Fabio, I was like, I really got a good connection with her just from walking you down and getting you set up in that office. But like, I want to know about it. I mean, because, most people go through life and they find these ways that they're going to self-medicate. Yeah. And for me, it was a little bit different. I just really enjoyed alcohol, but probably because I didn't want to cope with life.
Right.
But, for you, I'm curious to know your journey. You're 2 years sober. And this is called, the podcast is called Breakthrough for a reason. And the reason is because there's these 211 moments in life. So water boils at 212 degrees, but at 211, there's something that starts to happen. It starts to rumble. It starts to but it's not fully there yet. And usually in life, there's a breakdown that happens that pushes you over the edge to say, I have to change what I'm doing.
I remember my rumble.
There you go.
Yeah.
So our audience is looking for those moments because there's somebody listening right now that needs to just get over that hump and make the decision. So tell us about your journey and your rumble.
Absolutely. So I was always a social drinker. I was not a daily drinker. When I went, I did notice that I would drink quite nicely when I was out drinking, but it was never often. Pandemic happened. I got into real estate in 2017. And when the pandemic happened, I noticed that we were kind of sitting at home a lot. Definitely the alcohol increase occurred. And as I'm sure you know, the real estate industry has an extremely high volume of alcohol-related events. And
everything's centered around alcohol. Yeah,
it really is. You're networking. I mean, it's really hard to find things. Actually, my vendors are like, do you want to go to and I'm like, most likely no. What you got? It's going to take something that is not alcohol centric for me. Because I don't have a face that hides when I'm super annoyed when someone's drunk anymore. I'm just like, I'm out of here.
Do you remember when we were those people?
Oh, I remember it so well.
Yes.
Because I was like, are they judging me?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So I just, the drinking had increased once I got into real estate because so many people, that's just what you did, whether it was celebrating with your clients or any kind of event. So by the time it was, 2022, and I remember it was the month of October, and we were setting up an Airbnb, which is already a feat in its own to get every ounce of an Airbnb our own set up. And I was just really hating life at that moment. I was feeling extremely depressed. I was already drinking daily, but it was getting to a point where I was like not drinking daily like I'm having a drink. I was drinking daily to like maintain.
So maintain a feeling or like a state of mind?
Maintain a feeling of like, if I didn't drink, I feel like I might have been lost. So it was just maintaining I do this now at this time because it is the early evening and it's time to start drinking so I can get on to my next part of the night, which is doing all my computer work. So, everything had its purpose, and it almost became such a force of habit where I felt that It was almost like brushing your teeth. Like, this is the thing I
Yes.
do every single day to make me get to the next phase, which could be getting dressed for work or going to bed. You know, like, that was the part of I'm drinking to get to my next.
So when
of
you're
my
looking
day.
at your day, like when back in the pandemic and when you were probably at the peak of it, do you remember like, okay, so it'd get to 5 or 4, whatever the time was that you were like, okay, it's now time to have some drinks.
Yeah.
What was that time for you? Or did it ever bleed into like noon or like,
Oh,
was it
there
always,
were
did you have
plenty.
like boundaries?
Yep, there were plenty of drinking lunches, plenty.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But the thing for me was, it was kind of more of like a once you pop, you can't stop Pringles situation.
Yeah.
Where if I started to drink, it was likely going to go for a duration. So I knew that about myself. And I also took that into big time consideration for appointments. So I knew if I'm going to start drinking, this is going to continue on for the evening until I go to sleep.
Do you remember, I'm so sorry, but
Yeah.
to interrupt you, but like, do you remember planning things around like
Chris, please.
drinking? Like you're like, okay, well, I can do this. And then the reward is I'm going to do this appointment and then we're drinking right afterwards.
I was like a Google Maps of bars.
Yeah,
I'm like,
okay,
if
there you
I
go.
go here, I can get to there. Obviously, I have split custody with my children. So on kids' days, that was not an option for me. But like I made up for it when there were the no kids days. That's when I was like, all right, here's exactly how we're scheduling the entire day. It was so psychotic. You know, it just took over every ounce of my brain because it was like, where can we get to the next drink with enough time to get to here to do that?
It's exhausting. I mean, like I remember even when I was drinking, like right now, right, it's Friday, I would be, thinking like, what am I going to drink when I get home?
Yeah.
What am I like? Is it going to be whiskey? Is it going to be wine? Is it going to be, I would always like, it took up so much of my brain space. If I was traveling, I would have so much anxiety about the hangover that I know I'm going to have the next day. So I'm like planning around like, oh, I can't do that in the morning. Like, oh, don't plan a meeting for me in the morning because I know I need at least until 10 to kind of like get my shit together. But it was just like all these things that you would do around the brain space it took up. So what was a moment like?
It's
So
like
it's
this mind
rumbling,
map,
right? You're rumbling like you're seeing it. But what was a moment that you were like, oh, I got to stop? Like
My 211 degree moment.
Yeah.
It was 100% where I was starting to notice, like I became really depressed. And I was depressed because I was starting to notice that I was not accelerating at things that I felt I should be better at. Or I'm very driven, super competitive, put my mind to something. And drinking actually made me more kind of abrasive, definitely not kind of abrasive, than where it was just like, no holds barred. This is my opinion. This is how we're getting things done. And one thing I will note as the discontinue of drinking, I had to really find where my status was in how I dealt with individuals again. Because before I didn't care about, I would just say whatever I wanted to. And then for a minute, I was very almost weak. I felt weak because I didn't have that courage
That
of
edge,
alcohol. And I was like, oh my God, who am I? But my 211 moment was I was just not hitting things like I normally would. It was catching up with me. So many years of drinking. My face was so big and round and swollen from drinking so much. I was like, I'm an active person. I work out, but I just had like this moon face of drinking,
I know
right?
I trust me. I know.
Yeah. And so I was thinking to myself, I feel like, I've been drinking every day for a hot minute right now, right? And then I thought, okay, well, how come no one's saying anything to me?
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Right?
Like, why was nobody saying like, bro?
I'm like, hey, y'all.
Yeah.
Anybody want to call me out of my shit here?
Weirdest thing. Yeah. Nobody's called me out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even when I stopped, people are like, wow, I didn't know. I was like, I was a complete mess. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
I was like, I got it, baby. I can do it all.
Yeah.
But so I just was telling myself, I'm like, man, nobody's saying anything to me, but I'm saying something to myself. And I noticed every day in my mind, I'd be like, if I didn't drink, I bet I could have gotten up earlier and gotten to the gym. And then I wouldn't have felt bad about myself for not going to the gym. And then I wouldn't have ate a crappy dinner because I felt bad about myself. And it was just like this never ending.
Saw it. Boom, boom, boom.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, just stop drinking and get your shit together. And literally, I wish I would have thought about it better because I was just going through a super sad time. And the day I stopped drinking was, let's see, my sober day is February 1st of 23. So it was January, the last day of January. And I had no idea it was my last day drinking because I would have had a lot more fun if I did. But I woke up, I went to bed and I'm like, I think I'm going to stop drinking tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I woke up and I was like, today's no drinking day. And I don't even know how, like, that stuck for some reason, but I recorded it on my phone. I'm like, it's February 1st. I'm not drinking.
Did you put it out to the world, or did you just?
I kept it for myself because it was like.
Do you have it still?
I do, of course. And I was like, this is my little thing. And I'm like, here's my goal.
Yeah.
I'm going to try not drinking for 30 days, I think it was. And I was like, let me just see what happens. And I'm like, I'm talking to you, Jen. You can do it, right? That's
Good
my
for
video.
you, yeah.
And then it's been over 2 years because I am so also, this could be like an emotional addiction problem that people that are alcoholics or have any addictive personality will have, is that like you just don't want to fail at it. If you're an alcoholic, you want to do it real good, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you are abusing food or whatever, like you're going to go to the max because that's an
So
addictive
interesting
mindset.
to say, yeah.
So I took that and I was like, my addictive mindset now into not drinking. I'm like, ooh, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to nail it.
That's how
like,
I felt. Yeah.
I'm not going to let it fail, because if I did that, I think I would just be so angry at myself.
I mean, like, there are
Right.
times that I'll think about it. You know, I was in an airport and like I was, you know, in the lounge. You know,
Airports
that's
are
free.
hard.
And I'm like, well, there's all these little trigger things like
Yeah.
traveling, airports. Like for me, it's like if I'm grilling something, like I used to always have something in my
Like,
hand.
yeah.
So like, but I was in the airport and I was like a glass and I was like, I saw the lady and I was just kept like, then I started like, that voice was like, well, you know, it's one, you know, it's not a big deal. Like,
Right.
and I'm like, no, like I made a commitment and I put it out to the world, and I would be I would let everybody down, but I would also, more importantly, let myself down because I said I wasn't going to do something, and here I am doing it. It's like smoking. Like I used to
smoke too.
I used to love everything about it
Right.
until one day I just didn't like the way I smelled afterwards. And I was
the
like,
smell.
but
Now
I love
you
everything
that
about it in the
combination
middle. Yeah.
Package of like alcohol and cigarettes together on a person is usually, I'm just like that's like a twitch for me because I don't like it. I don't like it. But that's the whole thing. It's not because a lot of people say like, oh, I stopped drinking for my kids. I stopped drinking for that whole like tumbleweed effect that would happen. Because if I started drinking again and I was like, I'll only drink when I don't have the kids, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I did that. Sure, that could work. But you know what? I'm going to feel like shit about myself. And if I feel bad about myself, that's going to go into every other aspect of my life, including work, including family. So when people say like, I didn't do it for this, like, don't do it for yourself, because how you feel about yourself is exactly what's going to reflect every outcome of your life.
It's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's because when you're in that space, we have all kinds of shame and worthiness issues already.
Yeah.
That's why we're there to begin with, right? So like for you, how did you learn how to cope with the things that you had never had to cope with? Like you were talking earlier about how you interacted with people and the type of interactions you used to have. Well, now you have to actually have a conversation without the courage of the liquid courage that you used to have. How long did it take before you started to feel like you were safe in your skin?
I literally feel like it happened after year 2, because the first year you're still getting all of that alcohol out of you and you're still learning new habits, which are like, I go to the airport without drinking. I can go and hang out with a friend without, or cook dinner without drinking. That's like your habit year. You're just kind of forming
breaking habits,
new ways of like what's different for you and how you can approach each holiday. Like your first year is just good effing luck. Like push through, because there's not going to be any significant growth. You just gritty, just bear with it, right? And then the second year is when you're like, who exactly am I?
That's it.
Because the first year I just learned how to like push through. You got to dig, right? And then after that you're like, whoa, I didn't act like this. I used to act like this. I don't do this. I don't enjoy this friend anymore. So many things happen that you don't even realize the first year, because you're like, please don't mess this up. And then year 2, you realize, oh, I need to like restructure every ounce of my existence to figure out what works for me to stay sober, right? And that includes letting go of a lot of people. That includes new friends, finding new hobbies. And all of that really was like year 2. I'm like, I'm going to be the best mom I can be. And everything that was the focus, family and figuring out like how to live this life. And then I'm only almost 4 months into after year 2. And that's where I was like, oh, I can be brash again when I need to. I can stick up for myself. I can have a boundary and say something that I would have only said if I was drunk before. And then for year 1 and 2, I was like, zip it. I am just gonna like kind of pull back. And I was very reserved in trying to figure out exactly what I was doing. And now I'm like, okay, now I can have a filter, right? Where before I would just be like, F around and find out, right? And now I can have a filter and say things with purpose, things that are meaningful, and really understand who I am, because I went through the grit of the first year. I went through the understanding of what my life's going to look like for year 2. And now I'm like, here I am.
Isn't that a good feeling though?
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's such I've never articulated it the way you have, and I'm listening to it and applying it to my life. But the first year really is, like you said, it's just this understanding and just trying to not drink. It's almost that, right? It's like, how do I get through all these things? And like, I feel like after 6, I talked about this before, but the biggest trigger for me that took me the longest to get over was the moment when you walk into a restaurant to when you get seated to when you get the food on the table. I've never...
You like antsy? Like,
in all my life, I had never had to do that without a drink.
Yeah.
In my adult life. And then it made me realize that I don't think that I've ever sat down with my wife and had a 100% sober dinner, because for all my adult life, that time. So when we took that away, I probably in the last 2 years, I've maybe gone to dinner with her 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And just her and I, because I'm not good in that space right now. But recently I told her, the first year I think I was like figuring me out. Yeah. But now I think I'm ready to figure us out again, like figuring out how to do it. So for you, I think you've unlocked this thing for me that has said it's okay that first year, because you want to be everything to everybody that first year, because you're like, shouldn't I be functioning like 10 times better because
people
I'm not
are
drinking?
Looking at you, and I thought if I just stop drinking, all of my problems will go away.
No,
right?
It's like they're like flood in, because now I'm listening.
Yeah,
now I'm listening.
Like, they're like, hey, by the way, we're all here and we're all going to make you remember us every ounce of your day. Like, we're not leaving. So everything comes to like super fruition, right? And I'm better now, but there were so many events, so many things that I was just like, I'm not going. I can't go. I'm sorry. Like, that's not a comfortable space for me. I've had friends have weddings that I'm like, I'm not ready to go to a wedding. I'm sorry, but like, it's not for me right now. And that's
a boundary you had to put up. Yeah, it's a boundary you had to put up. So you're now, you're, first off, for people who are listening, you're a top 1% realtor. Like, you're insanely successful at what you do.
Thanks.
And you've created a brand. You are going to write a book. There's all these things, and you're coaching people. You're highly competitive, and those are all things that like drive you. And yet, you had this thing, and you've never really come out and talked about it like in the way that you're talking. So thank you for sharing this.
I was like, Chris, this will be the first time I talk about sobriety in like a public setting.
So do you think that being sober has unlocked some success for you that you might not have seen otherwise yet?
Yeah, because before it was fast success, if that makes sense. It wasn't durable. Like, there were a lot of boom, boom, booms. It's social media. Everything was really fast and then on to the next. It was like just race car status of, what can I do next? What can I get to next?
All surface level.
Hit all my dopamine marks, right? Yeah. Like, because that's another thing with, anyone that has a type of addiction. Like, we need constant, like, what's our next thing? What's our next thing? So instead of like sitting in the moment and enjoying anything, I'd always be like, oh, right. But now it's much more like really like encompassing myself in what's happening in the moment, appreciating it, understanding it, and then just like feeling the success and being ready for the next thing. Not that I'm not jumping to it, because some people will be like, do it even if it's not perfect, do it if it's not whatever. I'm like, yes, it's fine. But also do it when you're ready to enjoy the success that comes with it. Because I think everything has a purpose. Everything has a moment. I didn't believe in much before, but now I believe everything happens for a reason. Like, and I'll say things like, okay, this is not in my hands. I am like not in control of this, and I need to be okay with that. So there was so much before that happened that I was just like, man, I just am like, go, go, go. And now I'm like, enjoy, appreciate, move on. What's your next goal? Think about it. Do you really feel that? Or are you just doing it to get credibility? Are you just doing it to be popular? Are you just doing it to say you have
those
this,
are questions
that,
we should ask ourselves on everything
like,
we're
what's
doing.
your real meaning behind it? Or are you passionate about it? And that's what I even did with the branding, because I spoke on social media for a while. I like, that was when I first started in real estate. That was a big speaking point for me. I was an expert in that, right? And then that kind of pandemic kind of pulled that back a little bit. And for branding, I was like, let me really figure out, is this what I want? Why am I doing this? What is the reason behind it? And it's just like, oh man, I unlocked this tricky little thing that I really love. And I see so many people, and I was there too, that are like, my stomach hurts when I get this phone call from this client. I don't like my job. And every entrepreneur went into the business because they were like, there's something I'm meant for more. There's something in me that needs to do more than what I'm doing now. So when you become an entrepreneur, you have this fire in you. And to see so many people that are burnt out, including myself, where I was like, did I do the right thing? And that's where I'm like, it's not me, it's you. It's you're not working with the right people. That's the problem. So that's where I kind of brought it all into that.
So you're able to now really approach your business from a more intentional perspective, and you're not just churning and burning, through clients or through relationships. But it sounds like you're also putting up some boundaries of who you're letting in and who you're allowing. And from a coping perspective, did that empower you? Like, without, because again, when you're in the rat race of drinking and kind of getting to the next drink, right? Essentially your life is like up until the next drink. Now it's very different. What do you latch onto today? Like, in terms of what gets you excited? What are you thinking about that gets you, like, we used to think about the next drink.
Right.
What do you what is that next? What replace that?
I feel creativity is my what I take on in business. So for me, it's how can I take average everyday things and correlate it to real estate? How can I take something that, like White Lotus, that's trending right now, and I'm going to turn that into real estate, or I'm going to do something that's going to make real estate fun again, because it's not really fun right now. Kind of, there's a lot of parts of real estate that are just extra hard. The world is extra hard. So what can I do to make everyone laugh and have people enjoy themselves? And with that comes you're my person. Like, it's just you're my person. I don't have to work for any clients. They've picked me. There's no here's my commission. Will you agree? They're like, it's you. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's it. Yeah. Sounds like a Grey's Anatomy. Like, you're my person. It's you. It's a rom-com of real estate.
So tell me, I mean, like, from a branding perspective, because as you're talking, I starting to get to understand your personality and what your brand really is. How have you been able to coach people around understanding what their brand is and really taking, Christo? Do you know who Christo is?
Of course.
Okay.
I have
So
his book on my nightstand.
There you go. Right. So pocket full of dough.
Yep.
Okay. So he talks about the shadow self, right? And one of the things that he talks about is taking these things that we're kind of ashamed of, that we're that are lingering in the back, this other side of ourselves that we don't want other people to see, and using that as kind of your superpower of what it is. And for me, for the longest time, it was I was ashamed of people knowing that, I was embarrassed of people knowing that I had to overcome not drinking, because that was in my opinion, a sign of weakness in some way. How do you teach people how to embrace these things and be able to, use it as a part of their brand? Or do you even go that direction?
Well, it's relatable. for me,
it's relatable. That's important.
right.
Yes.
I was at, so I'm a big Orange Theory girl. I've definitely replaced drinking with a good amount of fitness, right?
How often do you go?
So I'm 3 days a week at Orange Theory, 1 day at Hot Pilates, and then I like to get some running in the interim of that, right?
Nice.
And my coaches, one of the coaches, I left my glasses there in the last week, a water bottle, and a jacket. And so I was like, oh, and before I left, I was like, my jacket. And she was like, come on, Jen, get it together. And I was like, no, it's this cute, quirky thing I have. I like know what I'm doing, but I never really have it together.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like my thing where
That's
I'm
your
like,
thing, yeah.
I will 100% get the job done. I will fight for you. I'll do everything. But they're also like, I'm like, I have no idea where my car is parked.
Yeah.
I have no clue ever.
It's almost like our brains can
Yeah.
only accept enough data
right.
that, like, if I have to add something to, like, if I have to bring something into work,
Right.
I'm forgetting something else that I also need to bring in. So it's always like, just
I
have enough
promise
capacity.
I'll fight for you. I promise I will negotiate for you. And I promise I'll likely leave my keys somewhere. Like these are the things.
Yeah.
And I think it is relatable. So I kind of created, this has all been, I've been working on like so hard for the last 6 months really of thinking about where I'm going with this. And I created this quadrant of branding. And so it's like, you start with your actual like brand body, who you are. And that's me. I am fitness. I'm books.
Okay.
I'm from New York City. I curse quite a bit. I'm really containing myself.
Yeah.
Right?
No, you can cuss.
And-
It's all good.
Right. And so I'm like, this is who I am. So I know who I am. I show it on my social media because a majority of our clients, we write down where we get every client from and who refers everything. And you can look and everybody's name is next to each client. And I'm like, these people just come from my Instagram.
Yeah.
And in my Instagram, it says like badass real estate agent, you know, and I've had people say, I like that. I want to work with you for
That's
that
why
reason.
it's your brand that's attracting them.
Yeah.
And you automatically know, or they automatically feel like they already know you and
Yes.
like you and trust you.
I took our website, for example, and our web director, creator, I said, here is our biggest competition's websites. Please look at them. She's like, great. And I was like, if ours looks anything like them, you're fired. And I was like, I don't want this. I want to be completely out of the box from this. So that's like your body, really figuring out who you are. And then after that, I created brand ambassadors, is what I call my VIP clients that I want to work with you exactly and all the people that are like you. So
Do you tell them that?
yes. And
Okay.
the reason I do, and again, all newer, but what I did is I took my list of my favorite clients, like over and over again, I love you. And I said, what is it about them that I like? Number one, they're design heavy. They trust my eye. I flip houses. I do a lot with design. So they'll say like, Jen, what would you do here? What would you do in this room? I like creating design opinions, right?
Absolutely.
They have some kind of fitness in their lifestyle. And at the same time, they have like maybe down to earth. They're not like too uppity. There's nobody that's just kind of thinks they're better than anyone else. Very down to earth, relatable.
yeah.
And they have a significant other. And their significant others have about this much say in what happens. And I hope their significant others are not watching this, but like they usually kind of stand in the back and they're like, let her do her thing.
That's it,
right?
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, these are my people. I can tell exactly who they are.
But you've just described what most people call an avatar.
And I don't like
I
that
know you
word
don't.
that
I know you
much.
didn't say it for
Yeah.
a reason, but like I think that most people got caught up in trying to understand that concept, and you did it. So the way you do it, if I'm listening to you, is like, why am I attracted to this client, and why do I like all these clients? And they all have these similar traits.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if they're male or female. They just all have these very similar traits that I am attracted to. Now, I'll tell you one other thing that resonates with me is that when you said, I like you and I want to meet more people like you, my brain went to, well, who can I connect her with that's like me?
Well, that's exactly why I did that. So I said, hey, guess what? You're my best, most favorite client. I called it my best client ever form.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to sound real weird, ladies, but I need you to fill out a really in-depth form. It's a lot of questions. And when you're done, I promise I'll send you a nice gift, but I really need you to do me a favor. I need to know everything about you. And this form is like, what keeps you up at night? Where do you shop for groceries? What's your favorite social media platform? What newsletters do you get in your email that you like? Who's your top 3 favorite people on social media. Do you go on Facebook, and what do you go on Facebook for? Because I think I know these answers. But where's like the top 2 places you grocery shop? Your favorite 3 restaurants. So here's this form. And I'm like, send it back, send it back. They all sent it back, and I was like, oh, mother, this gave me the exact diagram of where I need to go find.
What do you do
all
with
my
that
people.
information?
So then you take that information, you're like, what am I talking about on social media?
Yep.
It's everything that these people are doing. Where am I going
How
shopping?
do you, but is this you? Or are you dumping it into an AI? What do
This
you,
is me.
This is all you.
This is me, because Lauren does AI, and she always is like, I can make that easier for you. And I'm like, let me fix it.
Let me do this.
Let me
Yeah.
let me create it. Let me break it. Let me fix it, and then we can systemize it. But I need to
You got to put your
I have to put my
that's it.
hands
There's
on
a thing
first.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
always
agree.
like, just let me.
It's called something,
Yeah.
but I don't know what that word is, but it's like where you have to
Yeah.
touch it and feel it and know
Right.
the process before you can delegate it
Yeah.
off. Yeah, I feel you.
So after I got that back, and one of the things that were so funny to me is I'm like, what do you like that we do the best? Like as LKW Home Team, what's your favorite thing? And what would you like more of it? Because we send quarterly gifts, we have client events, we do all these things, and our client events just kind of suck. It's the one thing I'm like, and especially once I stop drinking, I do not want to host client events anymore because most people expect to drink there. And
Do you just not want to be around alcohol at this point? Like,
no, I'm actually like I'm okay around it.
if you were to be at a dinner and Lauren was drinking,
She always does.
and does
Not-
that
I mean,
bother
she
you?
doesn't always,
Yeah.
but like she drinks freely whenever she wants.
So you guys are cool. You're okay with it. It doesn't trigger you.
It's a decision that I have to make, and it's a decision that I have to make and make sure, and that I'm constantly okay with. Like, am I okay to be around people that drink? Am I okay today to be around it? If not, maybe I should kind of keep to myself. But for the most part, I'm okay as long as you have your shit together.
Well, let me ask this. I'm so curious about this because, like, on one hand, like, okay, so I live in my house where I have like all the old whiskeys and not old, but like I haven't drank them in for years.
Yeah.
But like I have everything still there.
Yeah.
Not because I ever think, I just don't care. Like literally, when I made a decision, I look at it differently. I don't really ever walk by and want to have a drink of it. But my wife like just decided, well, I'm just not going to drink. Like if you're not going to drink, and I was like, no, like really, please drink. Like I don't care. I don't mind being around people who drink. It doesn't bother me. But I do love your framework on branding, and I don't want to get off of that because I think that this is so. You kind of have like understanding who you are, understanding who your best clients are. Keep going because there's quadrants. There's
4,
a quadrant, yeah.
So I have that. I know who they are. I've really dug in. I know exactly who to speak to. I know where to find them. You know where to find your people now. So stop. I can't even when people are like, how do I get my clients? Well, people buy and sell houses for 7 reasons. It's all the D's. We all know them, right? And it's death, diamond, divorce, diapers, degrees. You know, like
I love how you said that. Like I would know this.
I know. I was like,
I'm not in real estate,
like,
so I wouldn't
he
know.
doesn't know.
But I'm pretty sure some
Right.
people in my audience would know it either.
Yeah,
but,
disasters, divorce,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So these are the reason people buy and sell homes. So if you
Okay.
can't find a client, where are those people? Go find them there. Number 2 is if you're new. And now once you have established some people and you're like, who do I like? Who do I not like? Then you're like, what did I like about them?
Yeah.
Now go find your people where they are, right? It really like breaks it down pretty simply. Then after that, like what do you have for your techniques to make them want to work with you and stay with you? We give way more after somebody closes with us than we ever do while they're working with us.
Well, first off, I think that's where people in this industry, even in a lending side of it, make the mistake because they're so focused on the next, is generating the next. But going backwards to really understand the client that already did business with you and can refer you because they know you, like you, and trust you is a big miss in so many people's. Like I was listening to somebody talk about the what is the timeshare industry. So the timeshare industry. Have you ever been to a timeshare?
No.
Okay.
Well, I was about to walk into one and I was like, and I walked out.
Yeah,
But
they're no joke, right?
Yeah.
Because I made the mistake of doing one, and it's like you talk to the first guy, and you say no, and they put you through like 10 different people to get out of there, and you're trapped,
Break you
right?
down.
They do not, and if you're good enough to not know you're not going to buy it, then you'll not buy it. But a lot of people ending up with these timeshares. But what I learned about it was they said the best timeshare salespeople, which is the hardest industry to sell in, is a timeshare, is they have 100 clients. And that's it. And they just work those clients and they just send them gifts. they connect with them, and that's it. But the worst ones are the ones that are trying to have 400 clients because they're just on to the next and on to the next. But if you can take 100 clients and just stick with them and, like you said, just circle them and give them the gifts and do the after, to me, that's where you get all the referrals.
Look at your industry. Lending is so, I would love to talk to lenders more often. I'm like, you guys, let's crack the code from a realtor's point of view. It's pretty simple for you to get business without trying to get this mass amount of agents. Like, just provide more value for the agents that you work with. If you want to, like Ben Kinney said, if you want a team of SEALs, you have to build your army, right? So basically, like, that's what I'm doing with my clients is I'm building an army of referral sources. If someone says real estate, they're going to mention my name, and those people are going to trust them because they trust people. Lending is massive. That is such a big thing to ask a stranger to do is, here's all my finances, take a look at them all. I'm going to feel real vulnerable right now. Yeah. But if my best friend was like, hey, I use this lender and like
they're legit,
they're nice, fine, great. That's it. Don't ask me another question. Whoever said they're doing it, I'm doing it.
So this is good because a lot of my audience is lenders. So how does one get, like, how do they provide value to someone like you?
So an agent, I had a lender come to one of my open houses, and he was newer, and I was like, hey, you want to know like how you can really do this? And I was like, you can provide such simple value, but it's going to be weekend based. And I hope you're okay with that. Show up at their open houses and be like, hey, I see you have an open house this weekend. I'm going to drop by like 24 pack of cold water and ice, right? That's disposable. You can get rid of it when you're done. And also I'm going to drop by like some individually wrapped cookies because COVID, right? So, and then you take like one of those plastic baggies, put a ribbon around it, come up, hey, thank you so much. If you get any buyers from this open house, will you send them my way? Of course they're going to, because people want to do things for people that do things, right? If you're giving me some value, I'm immediately obligated in my mind to return it, and I will feel like a better person for it.
There you go.
Meanwhile, you're the one who started it. Yeah. So things like that, it's so small. People will sometimes drop like $500, $1,000. They'll do anything not to work on a weekend. I have a title rep outside right now in my neighborhood flying for an event we're having next week. She is this weekend. She's like,
but she's getting your business.
Yeah.
All day long, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Because she like I love my listings, yes. Right? So I'm like, oh man, our guy can't fly her this weekend. She's like, I'll print them. I'll flyer your neighborhood for you. If I get any listing, especially from that, I give them all to her. But yeah. She took her dogs out when we were on vacation. It's small things.
That's it.
It takes no time from her. But instead of like, don't take me to dinner. I don't want a dinner.
I don't want to sit down
with you.
Right?
I don't want to sit with you at all. But if you give me a small amount of value, and I can keep on going on like these things that people do that are so small.
No, I'll tell you. To this day, I have a guy that sends me all his business. I don't even carry a license anymore, but he sends me all his business. I give it away to my team because before there was COVID, there was like the Great Recession, right? And so houses were like owned by banks everywhere. Yeah. And so a lot of them didn't have air conditioning in Phoenix, right? So they were like, everything was shut off. The bank owned the deal, but they were giving the listings to whoever would want them. And so he was getting these bank listings, but he would like take the listing and there would be no air conditioning, but we were doing open houses. We would literally go put all the signs out together, and then I'd sit it with him and sweat there with him with no electricity. And we never sold a house, but I get all his business because of that. He'll never forget that I was willing to do that.
And placing signs out for someone.
Place the signs out.
That is such an easy, be like, hey, you know what the worst thing for an agent to do on an open house day is, they should all do this, because I have a whole program on how to have the most successful open houses.
Love this.
And I'm like, this is so cheesy. I swear it works. Go get balloons. Go get bright red balloons with white string and put them outside, because it is a head turner. If they're multicolored, people will think it's a birthday. If they're red, they're going to think it's for real estate. They just do, this is a mind thing.
Interesting.
And if you're a lender, every time your client has an open house, be like, I'll bring the balloons.
That's how you do it.
Do you think I want to go and get helium balloons before a 4-hour open house?
Driving my car with them bumping around everywhere.
Yeah, no way. And that is the worst. Just go get some balloons.
Just make that one part easier, right? Yeah. That's it. I mean, I think that's where people forget is, how do you add value? And I think you just unlocked it for a lot of people. I used to do a pie. I saw Ryan Serhant.
I love Ryan.
It's in like one of the first $1 million
Yeah.
listings. Talk about how he put a pie in the oven so it smelled like apple
yeah.
pie. So I would do this. I would bring the apple pie, and they would just
Right.
like, yeah, it was like, oh, it was a thing that worked. But
Yeah.
but I love what you're doing. I love your vulnerability in telling your story, because you know, being able to come in here and share the things that you've done is extremely vulnerable. How do people get in contact with you? Because let's say what they're doing is resonating, and you know, honestly, on a side note, I really would like to get you in front of my team. I do a mastermind where we talk about branding. I think it would be really cool to hear your take on it, and you know, give people an opportunity to get to know you. But tell me a little bit about where we could find you, and if we wanted to connect and get coaching or anything like that. Right. How can you help my audience?
So, love you to reach out via Instagram. It's kind of where you can find, that's my stomping grounds.
Yep.
So at Welcome Home 614 is where you can find me. Shoot that message in the DM, and also Kessel-White at kw.com. It's Kessel White at kw.com.
Okay. And you said you're doing some coaching. Are you doing any coaching like with people? How is this all working?
I'm going to start it with a webinar, and then it's going to go into really ultimate goal is public speaking. I love it. I'm not weird about it. I'm like, give me people to tell my ideas to. So I enjoy public speaking. I would like to do that more, and then a book. So I have. So
this is all amazing. So the webinar. I want a date. When is this coming out?
Oh my gosh, I should give you one. I've actually been working on it, so I'm like creating what it looks like.
What, 30 days? What are we talking? June? By the end of June?
The kids, no, I can't, because we're going on vacation and the kids are out of school, and I stay home with them.
Okay.
So
all right.
you don't want anything that's coming out of me by the end of June, because it's just going to be a lot of curses.
Oh, that's perfect.
But I would say by like mid-July, let's do 45 days.
I would love, I want to be a part of it. I want to see this. I want to live this. I mean, I think what you're doing is amazing. I think you have amazing energy. I think you're so giving in what you're doing. And I think that your story and what you've overcome is going to inspire so many people, because you have such a good heart, and I love the energy you brought today. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, if this, really resonated with you, if it inspired you, if you second guessed whether you ever wanted to change, a bad habit that you had and you want to change your life, DM me, DM Jenn, take a snapshot of this podcast and, tag us so that we know that what we did here today inspired you. So like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But we appreciate you listening this far into it. And I hope you guys all have an amazing day. Thank you.